Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Three.
Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami Enam Kanvan
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakale Priya Priti Manti Vasyam Dipan Dikayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam
Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami
Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham
जय प्रभुपादा 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 जय प्रभुपादा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय 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 प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभु प्रभु शिला प्रभुपाद गुरु पूजा की जय श्री गुरु चरण पद्म केवल भक्ति सद्मा श्री गुरु चरण पद्म केवल कति सदमा बंदो मुई सावधान मते बंदो मुई सावधान मते यहाँ प्रसादे भगवता या जा यहाँ प्रसादे ये भगवतरिया जा कृष्ण प्राप्ति हो यहाँ हईते कृष्ण प्राप्ति हो यहाँ हईते गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्य सिद्धि गौरी हो क्यो गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्य ओ गुरुमुख पद्म वाक्य सिद्धि गौरी हो क्यो गुरुमुख वाक्य नाक रिह मने आशा नाक नाक मने आशा श्री गुरु चरण रति यही से उत्तम गति श्री गुरु रति हरि बोलिए सब श्री गुरु चरण रति यही से उत्तम गति श्री गुरु प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा प्रसाद प्रसाद पूरे सर्व आशा प्रसाद जजुदान दिला जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से जजुदान चक्षुदान दिलो जय जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु से चक्षुदान जय दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य प्रेम भक्ति यहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेम प्रेम भक्ति यहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते प्रेम वेद गाय जहाँ चरित वेद गा वेद गाय यहाँ चरित वेद गाय श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु हे गुरु सिंधु बोलो बोलो श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु अधम जनार बंधु श्री गुरु करुणा सिंधु लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन लोक लोकनाथ लोकेर जीवन लोक प्रभु कर दया जे हमारे पद छाया हाँ प्रभु कर दया दे हमरे पद छाया वेद गाय घुसु त्रिभुवन वेद गाय वेद गाय घुसु त्रिभुवन शिल प्रभुपा पतित पावन शिल प्रभुपा शिल प्रभुपाद पतित पावन शिल प्रभु जय प्रभुपाद 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 शिल प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद 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 शिल प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपा 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 शिल प्रभुपाद गुरु पूजा की नमो विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पेष्टाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी इति नामिने कृष्ण पेष्टाय भूतले श्रीमते नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पक्षचारिणे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य चैतन्य महाप्रभु नित्यानंद प्रभु पंचतत्व अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा नित्यानंद जी श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा जय कृष्ण चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय। सब लोग बोलिए गंगाधर शिवासादि गो जय गौर भक्त वृंदा जय गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरि वो हरि नाम एव केवलम राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे बोलिए भगवान का नाम बोलिए पवित्र नाम हरे राम राम हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे राम हरे राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे। बोलिए। ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः हरे। हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः। यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः। यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन। गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन। ओ श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता। ओ श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता। हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता। हरि गुरु वैष्णव भागवत गीता। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ। श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ। श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ। हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः। हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः। हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः। राम श्री मधुसूदन। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन। गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन।
बोल।
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Rama Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bolo! You're not chanting the way they do. Your mind is somewhere. You go over there. You go like that. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Follow. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Om Tat Sat. धन्यवाद. हरे कृष्ण, हरे कृष्ण.
Hare Krishna. So today is a very special day. It is the disappearance of Gadadhar Pandit, as well as the disappearance of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Both disappeared on the same day. So we'll discuss about their glories. But on the disappearance of great devotees and acharyas, Srila Prabhupada always used to sing one song. So we'll ask Arjun Prabhu to sing that wonderful song. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Gadadhar Pandit ki, Jai Nitya Leela Vishnu Vishnupad, His Divine Grace, the A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON Samtapikacharya Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki, Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki, Anantaguri Vaishnavrinda ki, Jai Sri Rup Sanatana Bhattaragana Sri Jeev Gopala Das Ragana Sadgoswami Prabhu ki, Namacharya Haridas Thakur ki, Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki, Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Goswami Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Brajabhumi Vrindavan Dham ki, Sri Navadip Maya Pradham ki, Sri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Sri Gadadhar Pandit ki, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Jai Gaur Premanand. All glories to the Assembled One. All glories to the Assembled One. All glories to the Assembled One. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru Gauranga. All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swapadandhigam Adadana Srirandantai Vridam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Tulisyam Janma Janmani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Godruma Bhajan Upadesh, very beautiful song, he's written a very nice prayer about Gadadhar. Smara Gora Gadadhar Keli Kalam, Bhava Gora Gadadhar Paksha Charam, Srina Gora Gadadhar Charu Katham, Vajagodrma Kanana Kunjavidam. Smara we can understand, just remember, Gora Gadadhar, Keli Karam, the wonderful pastimes of Gaura and Gadadhar. Bhava Gaura Gadadhar Pakshacharam. Become the devotee of Gaura and Gadadhar. Srinu Gaura Gadadhara Charukatam. Just listen to the wonderful katha of Gaura and Gadadhar. Bhajagodrma Kanana Kunjavidam. Godrum, we know, is a very wonderful forest in Navadvip, one of the 9 islands of Navadvip. So Bhaja Godruma Kanana. Kanana means the forest. In that forest there's so many kunja. Bidum. Bidum is another word for the moon. So Bhaktivinoda says, just worship Bhajagodruma Kanana Kunja Bidum. Just worship that beautiful moon at the kunjas of the forest of Godrum. So Gadadhar Pandit, although his family was from Chattagram, Bangladesh, they had moved to Navadvip. So Gadadhar appeared in Navadvip, very close to Nimai's place. In fact, Nimai and Gadadhar became very, very close friends. And Sachi also considered Gadadhar just like her own son. They were practically inseparable. Wherever they went together. And then in his student life, they studied together in Gangadhar's school. And Nimai became a great Pandit. Nimai Pandit. And he was very, very astute and very aggressive. He would defeat all the other students. Then eventually he also became a teacher. And he would present something and give all the arguments to support it. And then he would turn around and give all the arguments to defeat that point. And he would ask his students such questions just to bewilder them. All useless things. Nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. So Gadadhar used to sit a little far away. He was more calm, reserved than Nimai. Nimai was very proud and great scholar and very aggressive. Because Gadadhar, he's the incarnation of Srimati Radharani. Gaur Gana Deshadipika says that person who is the son of Vrisabhanu has now come as Gadadhar. But we know, and he was always very submissive, and even though Nimai tried to agitate him in so many ways, he refused to get agitated. Because although he's the incarnation of Srimati Radharani, he's in a different mood. Because Mahaprabhu himself has taken the mood. We know Radharani, she's very feisty and left-winger, Bama. Never tolerates Krishna's any misbehavior for a second. But Mahaprabhu has taken that mood. Gadadhar Pandit is Radharani without the mood of Radharani, who's been taken by Sriman Mahaprabhu. As we see in the Panchatattva, on our left side, we see they're all Vishnu Tattva. First, Mahaprabhu himself, Brajendanandana Jai Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se. He's none other than the son of Sachi, he's none other than Brajendanandan Shamsundar. Then Nityananda, he's Nitai Balo Haro Nitai. Nityananda, he's Balaram. Advaitacharya, he's Mahavishnu, some also say Sadashiv. So on this side, all Vishnu Tattva. Other side, Shakti Tattva. Radharani is the incarnation of the Ladini Shakti of Lord Krishna. And we know Srivas Pandit, he's a devotee, he's Narad Muni. So in so many ways, Nimai would try to agitate Gadadhar, but he would never get agitated with Nimai. And one time, Nimai told him, look Gadadhar, because Gadadhar was more inclined toward Vaishnavism. And all this arguing, just useless argument back and forth about small little points, this was useless for him. Nimai told, look Gadadhar, you will see I will become such a Vaishnava that even Shiva and Brahma will bow down to me. Even Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma will bow down to me. So in this way they engaged in their childhood pastimes. Then we know that Nimai went to Gaya. And there he met Ishvar Puri, who gave him Diksha, made him into a wonderful Vaishnava. When he came back, he was completely changed. He was teaching all his grammar in relation with Krishna. Everything was Krishna, 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 Krishna. Everybody was shocked. Even Gadadhar was shocked. Whole change had come under Mahaprabhu. Now Gadadhar was very happy. One day, Nimai was crying. He said, "Where is the son of Nanda Maharaj? Where is my Shyam Sundar? Where has Krishna gone?" And Gadadhar, he always tried to calm the Lord down. He was thinking what to do, what to say. He's in very extreme mood right now. So he said, "Lord Krishna is in your heart." Immediately, Nimai took his nails, he began to tear at his heart, tear at his chest to open up to see. Gadadhar stopped him. Wait, don't do this, don't do this. Krishna will come just now, don't worry. Sasyamata, she saw this happen. And she told Gadadhar, "You always stay with my Nimai." Again, he may do something outlandish like this. So you always stay with Nimai. So Gadadhar was always there to comfort Nimai. That was his service. So therefore, when shortly after this, Nimai took sannyas and went to Puri, so then Gadadhar also left Navadvip and went to Puri. He wasn't going to live without his Gora. So they stayed together in Puri. One time they were in a garden near Chatak Parvat, which is non-different from Govardhan Hill. Very beautiful sand dune is there, that sometimes Mahaprabhu mistook for Govardhan Hill. And right there, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur establishes mutt, very wonderful mutt is there, right on the side of the hill. So once there was a garden of tota trees. I'm not sure what a tota tree is, but there was a garden. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gadadhar were sitting in the sand, and Mahaprabhu began brushing the sand. Suddenly he hit something. He began to brush more. It was a top knot. And as he began to dig and dig and dig, then they all began to dig and dig and dig. And this beautiful deity of Gopinath, Radharani and Lalita, 3 deities appeared. So they were established there in that garden. And he became known, because he appeared in the Tota orchard, he became known as Tota Gopinath. And Mahaprabhu gave the service of Gopinath over to Gadadhar and told him, you worship him for the rest of your life. When Mahaprabhu wanted to go to Vrindavan, he told Gadadhar, you take Kshetra sannyas. Kshetra sannyas means you never leave Puri. You never leave Purushottam Kshetra. But when Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, Gadadhar wanted to follow him. He wanted to break all his vows to worship Gopinath, his vow to take Kshetra sannyas. He was going to throw everything away. When they finally got to the border of Purushottam Kshetra, and somehow or other Mahaprabhu got in a boat and he told all his associates to take him back. And Gadadhar couldn't go. But Mahaprabhu soon returned, and there in Tota Gopinath temple, Gadadhar used to read Srimad Bhagavatam to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they would cry That the book became, the words became completely washed out from the tears of Gadadhar Pandit. He was very expert in Srimad Bhagavatam. So, in this way, this Gaur and Gadadhar, actually this is Bhaktivinoda Thakur, we're going to discuss in a while. He also worshipped Gaur Gadadhar deities. But Prabhupada explained this is a very high standard of worship, not for neophytes. A very deep understanding. So finally, Mahaprabhu, after 48 years of his manifest pastimes, he disappeared into the Gopinath deity. And Gadadhar was heartbroken. Without Mahaprabhu, he couldn't live. Therefore, after 1 year, Gadadhar Pandit also entered into the Gopinath deity. Jai Sisi Gaur Nitai, Sisi Krishna Balaram, Sisi Radha Shyam Sundar, Lalita Sakha. Now most people say that Gadadhar was unable to put the garland and things, so one day the deity Gopinath sat down. But I heard on Purushottam Kshetra Prikama with Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj, he said actually it wasn't Gadadhar. Because Gadadhar left right after Mahaprabhu left, and Gadadhar left. So he could not have been very old. But he had given the service over to Mamu Thakur. So according to Bhakti Purushottam Swami, it was Mamu Thakur in his old age. He was unable to decorate the deity or put the garland. So one day the deity sat down. This is the only deity of Radha and Krishna you'll see in the world where Krishna is in sitting position. Usually he's in his threefold bending form, standing, with his feet crossed in a very beautiful way. When you go to Tota Gopinath, he's sitting. He's in Padmasana. A very interesting deity. So according to Bhakti Purushottam Maharaj, it was Mamu Thakur, for Mamu Thakur that Lord sat down. So therefore we don't find any samadhi of Gadadhar Pandit. On this very day, on the Amavasya of Bhaman month, New Moon Day, then Gadadhar, being unable to tolerate the separation of Gaura, he entered into the deity of Gopinath also. But here in Vrindavan, somehow or other, we have a Dant Samadhi. Dant means tooth. I don't know how they got it, but someone got a tooth of Gadadhar Pandit. And just after, if you know where Venugopal deity is, where Prabhupada stayed before moving to Radha Damodar, if you go to Radha Gokulanand, then you continue straight, and right on the corner is, right in this left corner is Venugopal temple, very sweet deity. And on the first floor, Prabhupada had his room there. And then just around the corner and one building ahead, you come to the Dant Samadhi of Gadadhar Pandit. We have a Samadhi of his tooth. It's somehow or other. This is what we have in Vrindavan. Srila Giradhar Pandit ki. So next, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was worshipping Gaur Gadadhar, and he left on the same day as his Gadadhar. On this Amavasya day of Vamana month. So we cannot even begin to calculate the debt that we owe to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Because it was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who first envisioned the idea that the message of Mahaprabhu should go all over the world. Mahaprabhu had said, Priti Viti Acharana Nagarari Gram, Sarvatra Prashoy, Hoibe Maranam. Prithvi means earth. But no one could catch up the secret. I thought maybe it's just exaggeration. Maybe in Bengal, maybe in Orissa, the glories of Mahaprabhu will be preached, but not farther than that. Nobody could understand. But Bhaktivinoda, he had this idea that the message of Mahaprabhu was told, so the message must go all over the world. He first attempted, he wrote some books in English language. One of those books, Lord Chaitanya's Life and Precepts, ended up in McGill University in Canada in 1896, the birth year of our Srila Prabhupada. So we owe an incredible debt to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We wouldn't be sitting here today in this wonderful land of Sri Vrindavan Dham, where Radha and Krishna's pastimes are still going on, sitting before most beautiful deities of Gaur-Nitai, ecstatic deities of Krishna Balaram, the very sweet deities of Radha Shamsundar. We wouldn't be sitting here. It wasn't for Bhaktivinoda Thakur. But it wasn't easy going. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was born in very opulent circumstances. That as the nature of fortune, she doesn't stay, she's Chapala. The goddess of fortune is Chapala. She's very chanchal. By some bad investment, somehow they lost all their properties. Even that village, Bhaktivinoda was suffering from some disease. There was one special, he was a Muslim, almost like a tantric, but he was Muslim. And he treated Bhaktivinoda Thakur and he told him that very soon the plague will come and this whole village will be destroyed. And this Muslim also predicted that Bhaktivinoda Thakur would become great devotee of Lord Krishna. And just as he predicted, the plague came, practically everyone in his whole family was wiped out. Whatever few remained, he took from, what was it, Birnagar, I think, and he took them all to Calcutta and arranged for them there. There was hardly anyone left. And then he had to struggle. He became a teacher. He was making 20 rupees a month. That was his salary as a teacher. And at that time, Vaishnavism wasn't very respected. Bhaktivinoda Thakur had to struggle against the public opinion. Especially because of the Sahajas, people had no respect for Vaishnavism. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't have an easy time. This shows the great determination. That great determination also he gave to Prabhupada. We were just there in Chippiwada temple, where Prabhupada was staying in his little room there, going to the print shops, going to the paper shops, all by himself. Trying to print his Back to Godhead, all by himself. He struggled like, and he went to America with 40 rupees. 40 rupees is 2 seconds worth of spending capacity in America. Means about, those days it meant about $8, $7, $8. We know how he struggled. First he was with Dr. Mitra, who was preaching Mayavad philosophy. He would always cut off Prabhupada's lectures. So much trouble. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also suffered so many troubles. But he bore through it all. Even at that time, to find this copy of Srimad Bhagavatam was very, very difficult. Finally, Bhaktivinoda Thakur got a copy of Srimad Bhagavatam. In those days it was difficult. Now every corner someone is doing Bhagavad Sapta. So he had to struggle very hard against everything. Eventually he worked his way up. He joined the British government. Many lower positions, then they made him deputy magistrate. That was amazing. In British India, hardly any Indian would get such a post as deputy magistrate. And eventually he became the full magistrate of Jagannath Puri, plus in charge of Jagannath Puri temple also. This was amazing. Nobody in British India, no Indian would get such a post. But the British had so much faith in Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Later he met, in his later ages he met one British officer, and that British officer saw him. He took Bhaktivinoda by the hands and brought him into his office. And he begged forgiveness, because I tried to get you kicked out of your post. Because I was thinking, if the Indians can rule like this Bhaktivinoda Thakur, then we'll never keep them under our control. He apologized to Bhaktivinoda for trying to get him removed from his post. And as manager of Puri temple, he made everything very regulated. There was a lot of corruption going on. He stopped all the corruption. Even the king at that time had misappropriated some money, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur made him do some special service. He had to spend a lot of money to do this special service until that money was exhausted. A very notable incident happened while he was the magistrate of Puri. And we've seen the pictures. Bhaktivinoda was quite a striking personality. Very robust, with this special type of hat, Puri hat. And there was one fellow in a nearby village, Bisikena, who was claiming to be incarnation of Mahavishnu. And he began publishing and distributing pamphlets that he was Mahavishnu and that he was going to drive the British out of India. So the British couldn't tolerate this, and they knew there's no other person they could trust except Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur wasn't so much interested because he was against the British Raj, but because he was claiming to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ordinary Jeev, claiming to be the Supreme Person. This riled Bhaktivinoda like anything. And the guy was very powerful. He had some mystic power. He could make sparks, flames come from his matted locks. And so many other miracles, so-called miracles he performed. So everyone was afraid to mess around with this guy. But Bhaktivinoda took some constables, they went into the jungle. He didn't announce himself. But Bisikena said, Kedarnath. Without introduction, without even announcing that he'd come there for some purpose. Kedarnath, I am the incarnation of Vishnu. You better not bother me. I know why you have come. You better leave me alone or you will be in trouble. And Bhaktivinoda said, ordinary living entity can never become the Supreme Personality Godhead. Better you come to Puri and you take Darshan of Lord Jagannath. He's just a piece of wood. I am the living Bhagwan. That infuriated Bhaktivinoda like anything. So he told the constables to arrest him. And immediately flames started shooting from his hair. Everybody stood back. So Bhaktivinoda personally grabbed this rascal and brought him and had him thrown in jail. Then he said, your whole family will be destroyed. You'll see, Kedarnath. Bhaktivinoda's previous name was Kedarnath Datta. And so it came to pass, for 18 days he was on trial. At the very beginning of the trial, his daughter became very sick. The heavy fever, nobody could figure it out. Even his wife lost faith, said, please let him go, otherwise our daughter is going to die. Bhaktivinoda said, she may die, but this fellow has to be punished for trying to impersonate the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then she became well. Then Bhaktivinoda himself got fever, very heavy fever. He's lying on his bed. And the day came for the judgment, and everybody was waiting because everyone knew Bhaktivinoda was lying on his bed with fever. Suddenly Bhaktivinoda, very dramatically, burst into the courtroom, sat down, and gave the order, the judgment, and told the guards to arrest him. Again, flames started shooting from his head. But there was one British officer who had read somewhere that yogis keep their power in their matted locks. So he whipped out some scissors and cut off his matted locks. And the yogi fell down to the ground, completely helpless. Then they threw him in jail, and very soon after that, he died. This is the result of trying to imitate the Supreme Lord. So many wonderful things were like that. Bhaktivinoda, if you read his schedule, it's so amazing. Because Bhaktivinoda was a householder. He had one wife who died, and then he finally married Bhagavati Dasi, very pious lady. And all in all, he had 10 children. Still has 10 children. He managed to be the magistrate of Puri. We can't imagine, running the city of Puri as well as Jagannath Temple. You can ask Panchagoda what a headache it is just running this one little temple, what to speak of the whole city of Vrindavan. But he was magistrate of Puri, manager of the temple of Jagannath Puri, and raising 10 children, and still he managed to write so many books. Bhaktivinoda's literature is most amazing. Whenever we read anything that's been translated, he had such deep realizations. Gradually he began to pray. He was trying to raise people's opinion of the Vaishnava faith. So he started one, Bhagavad-Samat, in Jagannath Ballabh Gardens. They would read Srimad Bhagavatam every night. This way he was trying to raise the people's consciousness. But he felt himself inadequate. And he was praying for a ray of Vishnu to assist him. So we know that none other than our Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti-Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, appeared. The magistrate's house was just down the way from the Puri temple. Have you ever been to Rathayatra? Just down the way. Now there's a Gaudiya Math there, with a big sign, this is not an ISKCON temple. Because all the life members want to go and stay there. Because it looks the same, we chant the same, we do the same arti. So in that house just down the street from Lord Jagannath, Bimala Prasad was born. Soon after his birth was Rathayatra. And somehow the cart stopped right in front of Bhaktivinoda's house. And since he was a magistrate, he could do things like that. He told his wife Bhagavati, you take the child and put him at the feet of Lord Jagannath. So no one stopped her, they knew it was Bhaktivinoda's wife. She placed him at the lotus feet of Lord Jagannath, and Lord Jagannath's garland fell off. Then Bhaktivinoda could understand, this is the answer to my prayers. So from a very early age he began training Bimala Prasad as a preacher, and inculcating the idea that we have to preach beyond the borders of Bharat. So it was Bhaktisiddhanta who caught up the idea. He also sent devotees to London and to Germany. There's one, I can't remember his name, one German sannyasi is also there. There's a book about him, very interesting. And he told our Prabhupada that you go to the West and preach in English language. So this all started from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. That's why we're eternally indebted to him. Because he inspired his son, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Bhaktisiddhanta inspired our Prabhupada to spread the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all over the world. So this way Bhaktivinoda, he managed to write so many books, he managed to do his duties. Finally he was always begging for them to post him somewhere near Mayapur. Finally he got a posting at Krishnanagar. When he was at Krishnanagar, then he used to spend all his time trying to find out the real place of Mahaprabhu's appearance. Because the Ganga is always changing. We see every year there's big flood in Mayapur. We see the devotees in the temple room, chest deep in the water doing Mangalarti, going between the buildings in boats. The Ganga changes her course. So he found out that the present city that's called Navadvip was only 100 years old at that time. He began to study the books of our acharyas and find out old maps and old histories. One night because he built his house in Godrumdweep, which is now different from Nandagram in Braj. And that house is known Swananda Sukhada Kunj. And one night from the house he could see some light shining in the fields. So he studied all his maps and he could understand that Mahaprabhu's birthplace must be there somewhere, across the Jalangi. He began searching, he found one hill, plot of land that belonged to some Muslim, but they didn't like it because only Tulsi, they couldn't grow any rice, only Tulsi grew there. No matter what they planted, only Tulsi grew in this place. So, of course we know Bhaktivinoda Thakur, his Diksha Guru was Bipin Bihari Goswami. And in his literature he gives many thanks to him for setting him on the path. But in his later years he took Siksha from Jagannath Das Babaji. Jagannath Das Babaji always used to come to Swananda Sukhada Kunj to be with Bhaktivinoda Thakur. At that time, he was about 130 years old. He couldn't walk. They carried him in a basket. He had his servant Biharidas would carry him in a basket. So he had Biharidas bring him there to that spot. And they set the basket down. They opened up the basket. And his eyelids were such that they always were shut. He had to lift his eyes like this. Immediately he jumped 6 feet in the air. He couldn't walk. 130 years old. He jumped 6 feet in the air. Haribo! Haribo! This is the place. Therefore we say in the beautiful Pranam Mantra to Jagannath Das Babaji, he pointed out the place, Nirdeshta, he pointed out the place of Mahaprabhu's birth. So then Bhaktivinoda himself, he went to Calcutta and begged. The Amrita Bazar Patrika announced that Kedarnath Datta is going personally. We hope that any Hindu gentleman whose house is graced by Kedarnath Datta will not refuse him a rupee or so for the Gaur Vishnu Priya temple. So he established that temple there on the real, actual appearance place of Mahaprabhu. So we're also indebted for that we know where the actual place of Mahaprabhu's appearance is. So finally he built a place right across from Haridas Thakur's Samadhi Mandir, and when he retired, then he stayed sometimes at Godrumdweep, sometimes he stayed at Bhakti Kutir, right across the street from Haridas Thakur's Samadhi. And now we managed to get that property and we have a nice temple there. Although it was all occupied by so many people were encroaching and everything, but one nice devotee, Gornitai, he got everybody out. He made friends with the police, made the police a life member, and he got everybody out of that place and took it over and made a nice temple there. So finally he used to spend, in his last days, he spent most of his time shut up in the Bhakti Kutir, doing his bhajan, hardly meeting anyone. And on this day, the same day that his Gadadhar disappeared, Bhaktivinoda entered into the eternal pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And they had a special train take his body up to Navadvip and took him to Godrumadvip. I guess probably to Krishnanagar, more likely. Took him to Krishnanagar, and there he went to Godrumadvip. And we know if you've been on Navadvip Mandal Prikrama or you've explored Navadvip a bit, you know the Samadhi Mandir of Bhaktivinoda Thakur is there. So we're so deeply indebted to him, we cannot begin to calculate. He was the first to have the idea of spreading Mahaprabhu's mission all over the world. As I said, we're all sitting here today by the mercy of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki! And many of his bhajans were very, very favorite. Probably like Narottam Das and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The bhajans are very famous and very sweet. Hare Krishna. Sri Gadadhar Pandit ki, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. So I guess around 1:45 we'll all return here. We'll have Vaishnava bhajans and bhog offering to Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and then Puspanjali Artik, and then there'll be wonderful feast at 1:30 for all the devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare